Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
And I do love when I have to Venmo my friends, I do love to say like ass cream or like...
Stop doing that to your friends that have political aspirations.
Like what you see.
Okay. Welcome to Text Me Back, a podcast hosted by two pig women who the USDA said could have a podcast. I'm Megan Hatcher-Mays.
And I'm Lindy West.
And my DNA said, we got another show to do. Are you so happy?
I am really happy, actually. I really love doing this show. It's really fun.
If you're not listening to Text Me Back, I feel bad for you, dude. I feel bad for you, bro.
We just got tagged in a Facebook post from someone who said, I'm a therapist, and the best thing I've done for my mental health in recent history is start listening to Text Me Back and all of the back catalog and all of the extras on the Patreon. And that's a therapist.
That's a medical professional, bro. So
yeah. So
you don't want to let down your doctor, do you?
Do you?
No. Do you?
You know what happens then is that they get to do revenge surgery anytime they want.
They get to take a single noodle from your brain. Actually, that's a reward. Yoink! Yeah, another classic episode of Text Me Back. Speaking of our back catalog, you should listen to it. You should tell all your friends about our show.
Yep.
And by now, I'm sure you all have memorized all the various places you can find our podcast because, much like us, all of our listeners are better businesswomen, BBWs.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
But you know where to go. Instagram.com, TikTok.com, the video website, YouTube.com.
Facebook.com.
We are technically on Facebook.com. And most importantly, we have a Patreon.com/TextMeBackPod where you can get all the goodies.
And an email and a phone number.
Yeah, I don't think I forgot about the best friend party phone, of course. I would never forget that you could call us at 703-829-0003. One quick thing about the Patreon, we started our Shrill Rewatch. 2 episodes of our Shrill Rewatch, Too Shrill, Too Furious, Portland Drift, have aired, and they are Patreon exclusives. So head on over there, subscribe, and you can watch.
And they're really good. I watched them, and I was like, we did it.
We did it.
I was like, what are they going to say next? I'm interested.
Who is doing this analysis, and where can I send my money? That's what I said.
So true.
Then I subscribed to my own Patreon. So what should we talk about today, Lindy? You got some tidings?
Yeah, I do. Well, first I just wanted to say that the other day I was driving through the nearby village of Port Townsend, Washington, and there were some people.
Is it really a village? Are you just?
I think
it's a coastal elite.
I'm just being a coastal elite. I think it's a town.
Township.
It might be a city. I mean, it has a mayor, but I think it's like 10,000 people. Anyway.
If you're the mayor of Port Townsend, will you give us a call?
Please.
703-829-0003. Thanks. What were you doing in Port Townsend?
I was going to the store. I was going to the bookstore and the gaming store, which I'm going to talk about later in the show. But all I wanted to mention right now during tidings is that you mentioned pulling noodles out of a person's brain, and it reminded me that I saw a group of people, probably 10 people, standing on the side of the road near the McDonald's in Port Townsend, and they were holding signs that said "Vote Kennedy." vote RFK Jr. And they said, something about vaccines, protect our children's health or something, medical freedom. And then one of them said, restore the middle class. And they said he's going to do that.
I don't think that's right.
I don't think that's right.
This man is so non-middle class that he has like his hobbies are that he trains his crows. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this man doesn't have middle class concerns. He's training the crows in his backyard.
It's like that though.
He hired a lady to infest his backyard with ladybugs. This is not a man who is concerned with the middle class.
Okay, obviously problematic, canceled, we do not stand. But it's like that. It's like that bit Adam Carolla used to do, Rich Man, Poor Man, where it's like he would find things that only the richest man and the poorest man do. So it would be like train crows in your yard. Or like a classic one was have an outdoor shower. Like ride a horse.
What we lost when Adam Carolla went off the deep end.
I know. Rich Man, Poor Man was really good. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you that there are 10 people in Port Townsend who think that RFK Jr. and his running mate Worm are going to bring back the middle class.
His running mate, Worm. No, her name's Janine.
Worm.
Janine, the brain worm. That's what we named her anyway.
We did. Who's his actual running mate? It's something.
Girl,
silly.
I don't know. It probably is. It's probably one of his backyard crows and Cheryl Hines. It's Cheryl Hines with a crow on her shoulder. That's his vice presidential candidate. Hold on.
I think I'm gonna like what I hear.
Hang on. I might have accidentally red-pilled myself into voting for Kennedy Hines Crow 24.
No, hold on. He can't be red pill. He needs his own color because he's independent.
What color is a worm? Pink?
Pink pill.
Yeah. Pink pilled by Janine.
Okay, but I think one thing we need to talk about in Tidings.
Well, before we do any of that is we need to play the song. What is wrong with us?
Oh, excuse me.
Okay, now I'm ready to hear the news of the day.
Well, the news of the day is sweet vindication.
Vindication.
Vindicarowin.
Vindicarowin
into the veins. Vindicarowin straight into the Vindiveins.
Straight into the Vindiveins. As we've discussed on this show, there is no dragon that I chase harder than the dragon of vindication.
Yeah.
He's our top dragon.
That's the top dragon.
That's a top dragon. And we talked a little bit about how we were slandered. We were expelled from society for claiming that Courtney Love said overdose weird in The People versus Larry Flynt.
Yep.
So we played it for you to text me backlights, and we said, you tell us, are we Delulu or have we caught the high? And it was basically unanimous. There was maybe one hater out of everyone who conned the best friend party phone.
You know what, Megan? Let's hear it. Let's hear it one more time.
Please.
Larry, you're gonna overdose.
As you can see, we're correct, but you don't have to take our word for it. Let's hear from a couple of text me backlights, right, Megan?
Yes, and they contacted, again, the best friend party phone, which you can contact us there either by text or you can leave us a voicemail, 703-829-0003. I would like to start, because this one's international, I'd like to start with a message from Dan from Berlin. Hello. That's right. We're freaking cruising down the Autobahn with Dan from Berlin. Who says, I'm here letting you know that in my view, you are deserving of all the triumph. Ohh-Vehr-døZzz. I had a friend in high school with whom I would also seize on seemingly tiny but incredibly hilarious deviations from normal pronunciation. I was frankly worried that your memory had drifted and that the original was going to be super normal, but it was not.
Mm-mm.
Unlike the other words she says, Courtney says overdose without any diphthongs.
That's it. That's it.
It is a weird choice that would have killed me back in the day and is still amusing me a ton here in the end times. Thank you for sharing this. You are welcome.
Donka, Dan. Donka.
You are freaking
Donka.
welcome, bro.
And Bitta, Donka and Bitta. And
all of it.
Leave it to the Germans to zero in on the diphthongs.
Yes.
You
Thank you, Daniel from Berlin.
That was gut. That was sehr gut. I love that message.
It was uber gut. Thank you, Dan.
Gut.
What else we got? Not everyone gave us their names, by the way. That's fine. You want to be anonymous but still give us the validation? We'll take it.
We'll take it. Okay, this person anonymously says, first time texting the best friend party phone, ! Well, welcome and thank you. Courtney Love does, in all caps, say it weird. I'd say like 75% weird, but that's plenty weird for it to have gained the lore that it did. Thank you. See, even the conservative camp agrees.
Yes.
This is a bipartisan bill.
This is a bipartisan Ohh-Vehr-døZzz. Okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, this next one I love because it maybe potentially combines our other favorite thing, which is husbands. I don't actually know if this is a husband, but it could be. We don't know. Anyways, they say, I showed the YouTube clip of Larry Flynt to my spouse. They said it was a little weird. I agree that Courtney Love says it's strange. I would not be disappointed if I watched the clip. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay. And then one more for the record. This person's willing to go on the record. Okay?
Okay.
Library of Congress, beep boop boop. File this under the truth. For the record, you are 100% correct on the case of Courtney Love v. Ohh-Vehr-døZzz. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most weird, I give this a 7.
I accept that. I really do.
That.
Because this show is about radical transparency. But I will also say, speaking of the Library of Congress, they will be filing this away under T for Truth and right next to the President's Book of Secrets. That is where you will find it, and that is where it will be.
Oh, will you find the President's Book of Secrets in its
not,
place where it's
not,
supposed to
not
be?
Not unless you have Nicolas Cage on your side.
Or did somebody steal it?
Yoink.
Maybe.
I think he put it back.
No, he did.
Oh,
he
you
did.
took it. Okay.
I took it. He put it back. I took it.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
I learned everything I need to know from the movie. But you know what? I like actually, earlier I said that 75% was a conservative estimate, but I'm amending that.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually, now that I think about it, because now we have another vote for us, this is only a 70%, 7 out of 10. But you need that space because you need room to grow into Ohh-Vehr-døZzz.
I know.
Like
if Courtney had started at a 10 out of 10, there would have been nowhere for us to go.
Yeah,
do you know what
exactly.
I mean? And I think that 70% is where the magic happens.
Yeah. That's why it's perfect.
Yes,
it's perfect.
I agree.
Ohh-Vehr-døZzz.
I feel so great. I was a little bit worried because I kind of was like, I was maybe waffling a little bit. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
After the episode came out, I rewatched. I was like editing the YouTube video and I was like, because when we first played it, I was like, no, it's definitely weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, is it weird? Are people going to be pedantic about the weirdness? Mm-hmm. And then really right away, we started to get a flood of validation at the party phone and it just felt so great. So
people were really supportive and that's nice.
Yeah. It's really important to support women and listen to women. And when they say Courtney Love says it weird, you need to sit your ass down and listen. Okay.
And #believe women when they say that Courtney Love said it weird.
Okay.
And also radical transparency. Megan and I are happy to admit that no, Larry, you're going to overdose. Walked so that no, Larry, you're going to overdose.
Ohh-Vehr-døZzz.
Could run. And that's the beauty of life. That's the beauty of art.
You know what that is? That's women supporting women.
That's being a girl's girl.
Anyone who says that Courtney Love didn't say it weird is a pick me, and you don't want to be her.
Yeah. Yeah. Yesterday, I went swimming in a river, and there were some pick me girls up on a big rock with all the 6-pack boys. And then one of the pick me girls walked out onto a log and was going to jump off, and we had to be like, no.
Please.
We're the only grown-ups here. You guys are the 16 and you don't need to have broken legs to get picked.
Or a spinal injury.
And
Please don't do that.
they said, what? And then she jumped off the log anyway.
Did she die?
No, she was fine.
Oh, okay.
She correctly calculated the depth of the river, so it was fine.
Good. This time. Yeah.
It was scary, though.
I don't like that. What other tidings you got?
Okay, I have a story for you. So I have some elegant friends visiting from Chicagoland.
Knitting celebrity, Jessie May.
A trio of knitting celebrities
Mm-hmm.
named Jessie May Martinson, Park Williams, James M. Watts.
Park Williams, by the way, was the person who planned your trip to Idaho for you.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes. A trio, I mean, luminaries, superstars of the knitting world.
Mm-hmm.
Really changing the game, bringing youth, vibrancy, life, art, modern silhouettes, fashion into the world of knitting patterns.
Is there anything more elegant than somebody bringing me modern silhouettes?
No!
Megan, I'm serious.
You go look at these three angels' Instagrams, or better yet, their Ravelry pages, and you will be your whole toupee will be blown back.
My wig will rip off to reveal another smaller wig underneath.
Yep. Your eyebrows obliterated. All your teeth will be gone.
Oh no, I don't want to look now.
It's so fashionable and like also just like so cute. The aesthetic, so cohesive. Like just I'm in awe of all three of them, and also like the three funniest, sweetest people I've ever met in my life. And you know, three best friends. Like it's so fun to have three best friends in the house, just sort of like
cute.
they're like sitting around chit-chatting and like knitting little beautiful garments. Like anyway,
Cute.
so part of the trip, since they were going to be here, there is a very beautiful yarn shop on Bainbridge Island called the Lamb and Kid. And they decided to do like a live sort of meet and greet, cast on knit along night.
Cute.
So people came to meet them, ask them questions about like their patterns and, oh, what yarn should I pick? And it was very cute. And there were snacks and little drinks, and Park's boyfriend Caden and I were the plus ones. But we were also like proud parents, and we dropped them off and we said, have a good time at camp. And we went, yeah. And then Caden and I went and walked around and had our own adventure, which I don't even have time to get into. But then we went back at the end. And I'm telling you this because it involves the podcast. We went back at the end to pick them up and to find out how it went. It was very cute. And they had to, of course, stay like an extra hour because people were still there wanting to talk to them.
They had so many balls of yarn to sign.
They really did. They did. And so then Caden and I like wandered around the shop and we invented some games like which yarn is the ugliest and which yarn is the prettiest.
That's a fun game.
Yeah, it was fun. And by the way, none of the yarns are ugly. Every yarn is beautiful.
Sorry,
like,
girl.
It was a really hard game. But so then I had one of the funniest conversations in recent memory with this woman who I don't know. And I'm not making fun of her. Just want to get that out of the way. But I haven't been able to stop laughing and thinking about this. So this lady comes up to me. All the sort of guests have, like most of the normal guests have filtered out. And it's sort of like friends of the shop and shop employees that are left. So this lady comes up to me. I think she's a friend of the owner's. Super nice, cute outfit, great hair. That's not relevant to the story. I'm just saying
she was just beautiful.
Yeah, she was beautiful. Yeah. And I want to soften the fact that I am going to make fun of her a little bit. And she's like, I hear you have a podcast. And I was like, I do. It's true.
You heard right.
Because one of the other employees had told her, I guess that lady has a podcast. And
for the record, it's the 235th most popular comedy podcast in Canada as of today. So bam, in your face.
Wow. So she's like, I hear you have a podcast. I'm going to listen to it. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Thank you. She was like, yeah, I have a really long commute. And so I listen to a lot of podcasts and I'm always looking for something new and fun. And I was like, I think you'll really like it. I can just feel like that we vibe and that you will get it and you'll like it. And she was like, yeah, you know, I understand that your podcast combines the news of the day and pop culture with but fun and with some jokes.
Yeah.
And she was like, and I really need that because I really don't keep up with the news because I find it too stressful. And so I avoid it. So I need something that will deliver the news to me, but in a fun, palatable way. And, and I was like, yes. But then I got nervous. And because I was like, what if she comes to us for the news of the day?
Well,
she's going to be disappointed.
The only politics we talk about sits at the intersection of politics and worms, or politics and crows, or politics and snakes.
The politics that we talk about is whatever sits at the intersection of otter attacks and ghosts. So
whichever candidate is talking about that in a given week is the politics news of the day that you're going to get.
So I was like, and I don't know why I was worried about what's she going to do? Come find me and be like,
she's going to contact the governor of Washington and be like, she lied about her podcast.
But I just couldn't let it. I had to be like, well, to be clear, we talked about the news of the day a lot more at the beginning of the podcast, but as it's gone on, we are also searching for sort of an escape from the news of the day. So it's gotten sillier and sillier, and we do less and less news. And now we mostly talk about, news stories such as they found the biggest snake ever.
Yeah. The move over Titanoboa.
The biggest snake of all time has been found. And then, so I said that, and she goes, well, I wouldn't like that. That sounds scary. That's scary to me. And I said, don't worry, it's dead. And then
he said, cool.
No, don't worry, she stayed. But the story has barely started. Then she says, it's dead? And I was like, yeah, somebody killed it. And then she was like, I hate when people do that. She goes, that's the implication was I don't know if you've heard this yet. This breaking news. When, that the boy fell into the gorilla enclosure and the gorilla didn't even hurt him. And they shot the gorilla. Can you believe that? And hold on. And Kaden and I were like, oh, wow. And she was like, what's the gorilla's name? And Kaden and I we were like, surely there has been another gorilla incident.
Man, there's no chance that you're talking.
She's like, yeah, I just read about it. The gorilla didn't even hurt the boy. And they shot the gorilla. And they killed it. And Kaden and I were like, wow, that's terrible. They shouldn't do that. And she's like, I know. And she's like, God, what is the gorilla's name? And then finally, Kaden goes, Harambe? And she's like, yes! And we were like, you mean from 14 years ago?
The kid is in college now? That Harambe?
And she was like, oh, really? Yeah, I'm always behind on the news.
Oh my God, nobody tell her about Donald Trump. She probably doesn't know. Oh my God.
I know. And then I was like, she started sort of telling the story again. And then I said, please, I can't relive Harambe again.
It was hard enough.
It was. I'm just barely over it. And then she left. And then Kaden was like, wait till she hears about Coney. We gotta stop Coney 2012.
Not Coney. Not Harambe.
Not delivering the news to me of Harambe as though it's breaking animal news.
The only thing that this could be is that she's Cheetu and she just arrived on the Oregon Trail. She heard the news 14 years ago when they left Iowa. She's like, you have to hear about this. Oh my God. Not Harambe.
She was like, you're not going to believe this blockbuster story. A boy.
The gorilla didn't even do anything.
I know. I love also the implication that if the gorilla had harmed the boy, gorilla death penalty. Like that we have a law where like that it's okay.
If the gorilla has the requisite mens rea, then you can take him out.
But anyway, I loved her so much. If you're listening, thank you. It was so cute and funny. And I honestly really enjoyed the news of Harambe being delivered to me in 2024.
God. I'm so happy about that.
It was so funny.
Well, if she's listening, then she's going to love My Tidings, because My Tidings is about the news of the day. It's sort of, I mean, it's just like you were saying, it's not like our show is apolitical. I think we both bristle at the implication that it's not political, because everything is political, even your silly little pig show that you make with your best friend.
Yeah.
But we don't always talk about politics a lot, because the 90% of my life that isn't this show is doing that. Like I worked at Indivisible for almost 5 years, and I don't think I watched the news a single time. It's like a single evening that I worked there. There's just no point. I had hit like saturation levels of news by like 11:30 a.m. every single day.
Yeah.
And my life is kind of like that now. It's not as bad. I'm not as burned out as I was. But so we don't really spend a lot of time talking about politics on this show. But obviously, like, I think we lived through 50 years of human history over the course of the last 7 days. There was like an assassination attempt on the former president. Tenacious D broke up because of it. Which, by the way, you pointed out, like, we had just been joking about how our podcast is like the angel of death, and we mentioned Tenacious D, and now Tenacious D is dead.
Because our previous victims include Freakaconda, Megan's dog Brenda, Sheila the Stingray. What's her name? Charlotte the Stingray.
Yeah. So, and now Tenacious D. I'm so sorry, you guys.
Oh my God. To the lady at the yarn shop, please stay safe.
Don't listen to the show, please.
Ellie's already dead.
Yeah, the podcast is not responsible for Harambe. I can promise you that. And, you know, then now there's a lot of swirl about whether or not Joe Biden should continue as the nominee, and raises a lot of awkward questions about whether, if he steps down as the nominee, should he continue as president? I don't know. Lots of uncomfy questions. And actually, by the time you are hearing this, so much could have happened. I don't know. Yeah. We're recording this on July 20th. So I don't know what's going to happen between now and next Thursday when this is entering your ear.
Life comes at you fast.
It surely
July of 2024, and anything could happen. Yeah, I mean, we didn't even. Joe Biden also has the plague.
Yeah, so it's just it's really going great for old Joey B. You know, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure how I feel about him stepping down or not. It's again might be moot in the next 24 to 48 hours. I really have no idea, but it just got me thinking. This whole thing got me thinking. Sorry, to be clear, it's not like I'm a huge fan of Joe Biden's, but I don't know how
you're a huge fan of Joe Biden's butt.
But I love his butt. So
you're not a huge fan of Joe Biden. However,
it's like I don't know if people would think it's bad for the Democratic Party for him to step down and for Kamala to be the nominee. I don't know. That's above my pay grade to know if it's a good idea or not. I really have no idea. I do know that if you thought the first 4 years of a Trump administration were homicidal, just wait until you see the second term. Because damn. But anyways, it just got me thinking, if Joey B does step down and the nominee ends up being Kamala.
Yeah, because I texted you and I was like, hey, Swamp Insider. Hey, Swamp Woman, who would it be? Because I don't understand how anything works. I'm like, can't we just pick the nicest person?
Can't we pick the most pretty of them all?
That's
the nicest
Gretch.
And sweetest? That's Big Gretch and her leather jackets. That's Whitmer West 24, baby. Contested convention.
I would do it. I would take it.
I mean, people seem to think it would have to be Kamala because she would be the way that I think we have one single campaign finance law left on the books, and it's this. If the top of the ticket drops out, only the second person can access the money. So she would get like the Biden campaign war chest. No other candidate would be able to access it unless you did like several steps of musical chairs, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
So she would have a lot of the money. She seems like a nice enough lady. I am kind of coconut pilled right now. I'm like, you think you don't smell out of a coconut tree? So now I'm kind of like, I don't know. She could be fun. Her
She's,
brain
I
works
mean,
pretty good.
she's a kooky, wacky gal.
She is.
Like,
Crazy!
people love to be like Coppola or whatever, like,
Yeah.
and like, sure, all of that, we
Sure.
could talk about that, but
Sure.
like, what about Big Doink Gala? Like, she is a
Yeah, I
freaking
know.
dork.
Which brings me to my story. She's such a little weirdo. Yeah, she's a cop, etc., etc. But this lady is one of our nation's top weirdos. And I think it's something to think about. So I have met her before. And when she was still a senator, I actually met her a couple times. She came and spoke at this rally that this organization I worked for was hosting about how much Brett Kavanaugh sucks. And she came and did that great thing that she does where she looks very concerned, which I love. I really like, a little bit of like the head nod and the furrowed brow, which I genuinely am not giving her shit. I find it so,
Yeah.
I love it when politicians do that, where they're like, fold their hands into a tent and they're like, yes, I love that. And then I met her again. We had this big meeting about this democracy bill that we were trying to get passed, the For the People Act, it was called. And it was like a bunch of, partner organizations like DC nonprofits that want to pass democracy bills, and like half a dozen senators, including like Chuck Schumer was there. Charles Entertainment Schumer was there. And I got there kind of late. So somehow that meant I ended up sitting next to Kamala Harris, who was still the senator from California at the time.
Nobody wanted to sit next to her.
Nobody wanted to sit next to Weirdola. And I was like, hey, I'll sit next to the weirdo. So I sat next to her and I was just like, it's actually one of my least favorite parts of my job is having to interact with members of Congress, because I feel like I have to focus really hard on being normal, which is exhausting for me. So I was like, I'm normal. I'm wearing my business dress and I'm taking notes in my journal. And at one point, Kamala made a joke, and I don't remember what it was, but she just said something funny and she laughed at her own joke. And then I felt, well, as a normal person, I will respectfully join you in laughter at your joke.
Yeah.
So I went, and then she saw me laughing and made eye contact with me and went, and then I was like, oh, I can't stop laughing until she stops laughing. So I was like, and it only made her more powerful. And so then she just started going, and I was like, and it went on for 2 minutes. To like 2 full minutes. And we were both just sitting there going, So what I'm saying is this. Let's give her a shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
let's swear in Weirdola. Let's let her see what happens with the coconuts. I don't know.
Kamala's team, screen record this part of the podcast, pop it right on the TV. That's your ad.
You're welcome.
It worked on me. I love that. It's actually so sweet and vulnerable. It's like Barry, my dog.
Yeah.
When he thinks he saw you like look at the Frisbee, and he's like, yeah. Are we doing this? Are you me? Yeah. Okay, finally, I'm ready. Okay. Like it's like you can just see her like on the playground, like waiting for someone to want to laugh with her.
I found it really relatable as someone who cannot live without the laugh.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely parched for laughter, and so I was like, damn, she really do be just like me. You know what I mean?
Stars, they're just like us.
Yeah, and then she became vice president. I was like, man, that weirdo that I was making weird eye contact with while laughing, it's going to be the vice president of the United States. It was great. So yeah, I don't know.
This wasn't on the agenda, but like, how about this Vance?
JD Vance. I actually have a story about him too.
That thing about I'm loving his Venmo.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, he didn't make his Venmo private. So there's just all these things on there where it's like JB receipt. What is it? JD? Whatever.
JD Vance. Yeah.
JD. I just can never remember if it's Joy Boy Vance or Joy Doy Dance Vance. Whatever.
Joy Doy.
So it's like Joy Doy received $25,000 from the Heritage Foundation. But then it's also like, ass waxing and happy ending. That's like clearly like a joke with his friend or whatever, but also I don't know that you would put ass waxing and happy ending. And I do love when I have to Venmo my friends, I do love to say like ass cream or
Well,
like
stop doing that to your friends that have political aspirations. So JD Vance is, you know, just sort of a classic fake rural grifter type. Well, he really did grow up in a rural area and wrote a book called Hillbilly Elegy about it. Thanks for nothing, Oprah, for springing that on everybody
fucking
and making it
Oprah.
fucking book club or whatever it was. But he also kind of got his start as being a blogger for National Review Online. So he'll be our nation's first blogger vice president.
Okay, representation matters.
Also, he's younger than us. Do you know that? He's only 39. Isn't that disgusting?
That's illegal.
I know. So I used to work for an organization called Media Matters, which was like a, I don't know, man. They basically are like, oh, right-wing media fails to note that Democrats rule. Whatever.
It's like a media watchdog. Like
yeah, media watchdog, but really aimed at like exposing right-wing
yeah.
messaging in right-wing media and it's sometimes in mainstream media. So we used to like kind of monitor National Review Online to see what sort of weird, I don't know, stupid thing they were going to say. And I in particular would monitor it for like court stuff, legal stuff, and sometimes we would write about like civil rights things because National Review Online is quite racist. And so they would be like, race, is it real?
Yeah.
And here's why it benefits whites. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And JD Vance would write a lot of like quote like faux intellectual pieces about how we like, I don't even know. I'm just making this up, so don't sue me, but like
Sure.
how we don't need the Civil Rights Act anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
And then during the time I was there, Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote that huge piece about reparations and the need for reparation, the case for reparations, it was called. And it was sort of like the precursor for the right wing getting mad about the 1619 project. It was the same vibe. I don't recall it being as big and as, I just mean big in the sense, I don't remember it becoming intertwined with the right's plans for the future in the same way that 1619 project became like a dog whistle for them.
Right.
It was
maybe like the ground zero for like CRT.
Exactly. It was
hysteria.
a total test run for what ended up happening with the 1619 project and critical race theory and all that stuff. And JD Vance wrote some piece. I don't know. I should probably have looked this up before we started recording.
Well, we weren't planning to talk about Joy Boy Vance.
Yeah, we weren't talking. Somebody called him Jance Dance Vance.
Perfect. Jokin, Rokin, Token all over again.
Exactly. So JD Vance wrote something about how Black people complain too much and we don't need reparations. I don't even remember what it was about. And so I wrote a piece being like, National Review Online is wrong. We should talk about race. Reparations is important, blah, blah, blah. And then he sent me a message. JD Vance sent me a message on my Tumblr page.
Do you have it? Do you have a screen grab?
I do have it. Yeah, I do have it. Hang on.
Shut up.
First of all, don't get too excited. It's not like it's a particularly spicy message. It's just funny that if he becomes vice president, he will be the first vice president to have sent me a DM
on Tumblr.
On Tumblr. Sorry, Kamala.
Well, it's not. She still has a brief window.
Yeah, she could send me one now, and we'll see. We'll see whose is better. But yes, JD Vance messaged me, and he said, "Hi, Meagan. I saw that you mentioned my piece on NRO, National Review Online, and just wanted to clarify something. I certainly do have an interest in talking about racial discrimination, as I noted in my post. I think it's time that conservative policy folks got serious about it. I just had some issues with Coates' piece. I didn't see why the economic discussion was necessary, and I thought he took some liberty with data. At any rate, thanks for the mention. Regards, JD Vance." I was like, and that was in 2014. So 10 years ago, he supposedly believed that Republicans should have an open discussion about race and racism. I don't know, but these days,
but don't talk about economics, because certainly the underpinnings of race in America have nothing to do with economics.
It's separate. I think we could all agree. Yeah,
it wasn't literally Black people being a product that was bought and sold.
Shh.
Don't talk
No.
about economics, okay?
So how the tables have turned, I do not think that he will be talking about racial discrimination during this campaign to be the vice president of the United States, but
Interesting.
anything's possible.
Well,
So
you never know. You never know
I like to-
because Donald Trump has changed
Yeah, he's a
since
different
being
man now.
shot in the ear.
I don't know if you heard from his granddaughter, but he's like a regular grandpa. He gives me ice cream. So,
Oh, okay, great.
and
Well, then-
those are our tidings.
Hit it.
I wasn't ready.
I know.
1 second. Here we go.
I love it so much.
I know it's really good. All right.
If there's one thing people know about me, it's that jeg kan ikke snakke norsk.
Oh, you can't speak Norwegian? What if in 2024 you learn to snaka a little bit better every day? When you're learning a new language with Babbel, that's exactly what you're doing. And if Babbel can help you start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks, imagine what you could do in a full year.
Well, Megan, I have 3 full years until my next family reunion in Norway, as you well know, because you come with me to my family reunions.
Yeah, I do. Maybe I'll learn Norwegian too, so I can finally find out what Great Aunt Ronhild's whole deal is.
That's the Babbel guarantee.
Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you learn. Get pumped, Ronhild.
Babbel's tips and tools are approachable, accessible, rooted in real-life situations, and delivered with conversation-based teaching, so you're ready to practice what you've learned in the real world. And I can attest to that. I've only been doing Babbel for a couple of weeks, so I'm no expert, but I've already learned how to say, I'm from over there, he's from here, they're going to the store, which is kind of all you need when you're getting to know new relatives at the reunion. And if I mess up a word, Babbel's speech recognition technology listens, it notices, it flags it, and it helps me improve my pronunciation and accent. It's actually incredible.
Glory be to Odin. And now for you, we have a special limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, you can get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for the Text Me Back likes. Babbel.com/textmeback. That's BABBEL.com/textmeback. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Welcome back to Text Me Back, your favorite piggy podcast. For pigs by pigs. But also, if you don't identify as a pig, we're not calling you one. But there's nothing wrong with being one.
There's nothing wrong with being a pig. And also, again, I must emphasize, stop telling me that pigs don't sweat.
Yep, stop it. No animal facts unless they're from 14 years ago, because that
Thank you.
is the best thing that's happened to me all week. Actually, I don't even know how long ago Harambe was. Hold on, let me look it up. Harambe.
I think it
Killing
was.
of Harambe, 2016. So 8 years ago,
Damn.
right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
The kids definitely got to be in high school at least.
At least.
All right.
Oh man,
All
he
right,
was
pig woman.
Harambe was trying to save him.
Harambe was trying to adopt him as his son.
There was a
Why? I don't want to relive Harambe.
sorry. Okay.
What do you got, pig woman?
Okay, so here's what I got. So, okay, you know how I like magic, might, spells, spellcasters, necromancers, wizards, dragons, unicorns, griffins, and centaurs. Knights,
Yes.
knight, princes, princesses, kings, queens, jesters, halflings, dwarves.
Fullings.
Yep, fullings, doublings, and nightworms.
I think I knew that, except I wasn't so sure about necromancers, so thank you for clarifying.
they serve their purpose. So I like to play a role-playing video game where I am a character and I run around with my pals and I slice them up and I solve problems. So
yes,
I've long flirted in my heart with going deeper into the possibilities. And I have some friends visiting, like I said, and we got to talking. And we were going to Port Townsend to get some yogurt and restock the Doritos. And we stopped by a little store called Strange Days Comics and Games in Port Townsend. Everyone should go visit, buy some stuff. And I picked up a little thing called
the D&D Player's Handbook. How exciting.
The D&D Player's Handbook. And I also got a set of dice, and they have modules for beginner players, basically. So like, if you don't want to have a dungeon master craft you a bespoke adventure, they have like an adventure already written, and then they have like kind of pre-created characters so that you can just jump right in and like learn the ropes. So I bought one of those too. So I think we're going to start playing the module right after this.
Oh my God, that's so exciting.
But I remembered that even though you are very resistant to some of my magical inclinations, you do have a little twinkle of interest in D&D.
I kind of fuck with D&D. I'm not sure why that is. Other stuff I find embarrassing, but D&D, I'm like, that seems fun.
I know why. It's because it was vetted by people you actually think are cool, unlike me. Because you're like, oh, I saw drag queens play it, and so now I think it's cool.
No.
If just Lindy liked it,
no. I must correct the record. Although I do think you're a huge dork. Parentheses complimentary. But the first person I saw play D&D was that episode of Freaks and Geeks, that classic episode.
Yeah, totally.
Where Harris is the dungeon master.
Yep.
I think they need an extra person, and so they get Daniel Desario to play.
Yep. Dwarf? I don't want to be a dwarf. I wanted to be like a ninja or a fighter.
Well, dwarves are fighters. They're really good at it.
All right, fine. I'll be a dwarf. But my name is Carlos.
Carlos the dwarf?
Yeah, you got a problem with that, Gorthon?
He comes up with the famous character Carlos the Dwarf, which is one of the funniest names of a character I've ever heard of in my life. I know that James Franco was canceled and whatever, but the episode is so sweet because the geeks have this wonderful bonding experience with this very cool person in Daniel Desario, and he gets like really into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this seems so nice. And I don't think I knew anything about, because like when we were growing up, I feel like Dungeons and Dragons was shorthand for like something that nerds do, but it was like something that nerds did in the 80s, and we were children of the 90s. So I just feel like I never knew a real person that ever played it. So I had this concept that was just like dorky, but didn't really know anything about it.
Right. And also like no one ever invited me to play. And it's not like, to reference Freaks and Geeks again, it's like when they're going to the sci-fi convention, what in the episode when Alan, the bully, poisons Bill with a peanut.
Which is crazy, by the way, Alan. That's crazy.
Oh, actually, by the way, in the vein of you're going to Ohh-Vehr-døZzz, another thing we used to always say was, "Please don't die." That's what Alan says to Bill when Bill's in the hospital, because Alan's trying to dodge the murder charge. So he says, "Please don't die."
I like comic books and science fiction too. You guys never asked me to hang out. Please don't die.
But then at the end of the episode...
By the way, out of nowhere, he's not playing the character with an accent. Please don't die. It came out of nowhere. Okay.
At the end of the episode, they're like, well, Alan, do you... He's like, I like to play Dungeons and Dragons too, but you guys never invited me. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, you're like a bully.
You're super mean and you tried to kill Bill.
But like, there's this moment of like, we didn't know that you would want to go, you know? Yeah. And so I feel like no one ever invited me. Maybe, they probably all thought I was way too cool.
Yeah. I think that was definitely...
Yeah. And so I never have played D&D, and
I'm so intrigued. I'm so intrigued by it. I love that you get to make your own little guy, your own little, or gal, you know.
Or gal.
And most recently, yes, to go back to your point, I got really interested in it again because I think it's called Dropout TV, has a bunch of series where they play Dungeons. They do a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and one they did with a bunch of like some of the funniest, like our nation's top drag queens. So it's Jujubee. If you watch Drag Race, you'll know these people. Jujubee, Bob the Drag Queen, who's one of my all-time favorites, Alaska, and Monet Exchange. And it's really cute because none of these 4 queens had ever played Dungeons and Dragons before. So the Dungeon Master was watching it was really fun because he was like walking them through different things they could do. And it's really interesting to watch the queens sort of make connections about like, oh, wait, I do have this power to turn stone into water. And so if I do that, we can escape the sea creature or whatever, so, and like pick up on like what the different pitfalls of doing certain things over others was. And I think Dropout TV, I am not paid by Dropout TV, but I think like a month's subscription is like $5 or something. You should go watch Dungeons and Drag Queens because it's one of the funniest. It's funny. It's heartwarming. I got really emotional at one point. I almost was like in tears at one point at the end, like for like the final battle, something happens that is so good that I was like, damn. Like it was so like, it really but like showed the power of humanity. Like it was really good. And so then I was like, I want to play Dungeons and Dragons. This was really fun. Yeah. So
okay. So a couple things. I think we should play.
I think so too.
And we'll have to obviously do it over Zoom, but like that, people do that all the time. People were doing that all the time during COVID. And like everything else in this life, I think we should monetize it.
I think so.
I think we should put it on the Patreon.
I think so.
I think obviously we can't turn this podcast into a D&D podcast, but I do think a spinoff podcast would be really fun. So, okay, Jessie May, who is here visiting, she plays D&D. So I've been asking her like, okay, how should we do this? What do we do? And I said, I think that I would like to be the Dungeon Master.
Cute.
And then she said, no. She said, you wouldn't be a good Dungeon Master. But she said you're too soft-hearted.
It's true.
Because the Dungeon Master has to be able to frickin' lay down the law and then enforce the rules, and that a lot of D&D is maybe the players trying to weasel out of their consequences. And she was like, I just don't think you'd be strong enough.
She's not wrong.
To say no. But she was like, although that could be its own dynamic where like if the players know that you're kind of a soft dungeon master, then they know that they can sort of manipulate you in these ways, and that could become part of the story. When I'm like, that's kind of interesting. But she was like, for instance, she's like, say one of your players has a familiar that's like really cute, really cute little familiar, and then the familiar gets killed, and then the player is like, oh wait, I forgot I have this like resurrection spell. Can I go back and use it to bring my familiar back? She's like, as the DM, you have to say no.
Yeah.
It's too late. You should have thought of that at the time. And she's like, what if they like start crying and begging for their familiar to come back? And I was like, no, not a chance.
They don't even have to cast a spell. They could just have it back.
They could just have it back. It's actually against the rules for any animal to die. So, but that's actually fine because she was also like, I think you would really love playing a character.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to miss out on that opportunity. So,
yeah.
So
well, that's one of the fun things, not to talk too much about this, but that's one of the fun things about Dungeons and Drag Queens is that because it's their first time playing, the Dungeon Master is a little bit of a softie. And it's like, he'll kind of weigh the options and be like, you know what, I'm going to allow it because you thought of this XYZ thing.
Okay.
And he'll be like, I think that's cute, so I'm going to allow it. Basically, it's kind of nice. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to do some research. I'm going to do some asking around, see if I can find us a Dungeon Master. And then we should talk like, who else would we like to have in our game that might be interested? And then I think we should, maybe starting in the fall.
Yeah.
We start up a little game.
let
And
us know if you all would watch that.
Yeah, let us know.
We can put it on our Patreon.
Let us know. And Megan, I didn't have time to do the whole process, but I have started building a character for myself. Would you like to hear?
Yes, I would like to hear everything.
So my character is a dwarf who is a mage. And those aren't very compatible. Dwarves are not very good at magic. But my character can't help it. He's a boy dwarf he just has this innate magic, and he's really interested in magic. He's really enthusiastic, but he's kind of bumbling. He's not good at magic. He's not going to have high stats, but he is he has a good heart, and he's a little shy guy, but he's like really excited. And he's like, this is his first adventure. And his name is Totus Wormstone.
Stop it.
Totus Wormstone, son of Toad's daughter.
Son of Toad's daughter.
Yep. Totus Wormstone, son of Toad's daughter.
I was going to say Totus, son of Grotus, but that's okay.
So he's Totus Wormstone, son of Toad's daughter, son of Grotus.
Okay.
And he does wild magic. And because Jesse said that you can have your character do wild magic, where then you do like an extra roll, and then sometimes something absolutely insane will happen. So, because I think he just doesn't have very good control, and he doesn't really understand his powers, and
he's just a little baby.
Yeah, he's just a little baby. So he's at the beginning of his journey of like discovering himself and growing his confidence, and starting to like believe that, you know, maybe he could, even if his magic is not powerful, that maybe he has other skills to offer the world.
Yeah.
So Totus Wormstone. And Totus, by the way, when we went swimming in the river yesterday, we met a toad. And James M. Watts found a toad on the shore, and then he had it in his hands and he's screaming, "I have a toad." And then we all went over and looked at it, and it was so cute. And then we were like, okay, set the toad free. He puts the toad down on a rock. The toad immediately jumps into the freezing cold river. I was like, there's no way that toad wants to be in this river. It's going to be swept away and frozen to death.
Yeah.
And the toad is so small. The toad is like the size of a silver dollar.
The famous reference. Yes.
The toad is the size of an Oreo, maybe.
Okay.
The toad could easily sit on an Oreo.
Sure.
The toad is swept into the icy current. And I looked it up, by the way. This river that we were swimming in was somewhere between 50 and 58 degrees, which is cold as hell. This is a glacial melt river.
Okay.
Toads are terrestrial. They live on land. The toad is so disoriented by being held in the magical palms of James M. Watts that he immediately leaps off of this rock into the water. So we're like, no, he gets swept along, and he comes up against a log. He hits a log, and that's just like 2 inches away from the rock that he jumped off of. Like he doesn't get swept very far. But then he's struggling, he's scrambling to try to climb up the log, but the log is slippery. And so I'm watching him and I'm like, is he supposed to be in the water? He jumped into it, but he doesn't look like he's doing good. He really wants to get out of the water, but he can't get a grip on this log. So then I went and I helped him.
Oh, you helped him?
Yeah, and I put him on the log, and then he's just sitting on the log like frozen. And I was like, he needs to be in the sun, back on the hot rock. So I put him back on the hot rock, but facing away from the water, so that if he does a panic hop, he'll hop onto the land.
Yes.
And then he sat on the hot rock for a while. He heated up, and then he very thoughtfully walked away. But so then I was like, what's the toad's name? And then James M. Watts named the toad Totus. So I thought that would be to honor Totus, because Megan, you and I met at Frog once.
I was going to say, you are so lucky with the frogs that you find and the names that they get, because we found a frog in Norway. And this is like a classic Ingrid West story, because your mom is really funny and she's like, I'm not funny. I don't know. And then she'll say like one thing that is funnier than anything George Carlin ever thought of, or whatever, So we were like, so we found this frog. I forget where we were.
We were at Eleanor's house.
Yeah.
Just in the yard outside Eleanor's house.
And it was so tiny. It was the tiniest little frog you ever did see. It was like, the size of the One Ring.
Yeah. Well, who's wearing it? Because when Sauron's wearing it.
Yeah, great question. So anyways, we were like, Ingrid, what's like a good Norwegian name for this frog? And she went, I don't know. Hoppacarl. We were like, holy shit! That's the funniest thing you could have possibly have said.
Oh, Hoppekarl.
Oh, Hoppekarl?
Hoppekarl?
Oh, really?
Hoppekarl?
That's his name? Hoppekarl?
You just came up with that in 1 second. You never thought about a frog
I
before
know.
in your life?
She was like, I don't know, girls. That's ridiculous. Hoppekarl.
So now I got Hoppekarl and I got Totus in my life.
That's so great.
And now
you're a dungeon master.
and now I'm a male dwarf named Totus Wormstone Toad, son of Toad's daughter. Son of
Grotus.
Daughter of Grotus.
Yeah. Well, congrats. I feel like people really want you specifically to talk more about games on this show. We've gotten actually a lot of messages in the best friend party phone, which I have not acknowledged. Sorry. From people being like, oh, I want recommendations from Lindy for video games.
Yeah.
So maybe this will scratch the itch.
Yeah, and actually I have something to say about video games, Megan.
Go on.
Which is that, okay, we've established that you're interested in D&D, and yet somehow for some reason video games are still on your poo-poo list.
They're still on my poo-poo list, and I finally figured out why.
Okay.
When I played video games as a child, which was very rarely, I did have a Game Boy, but my parents never got us a Nintendo, but they did get us an educational system called Socrates.
Megan, I have Socrates! I have never heard anyone ever in my life mention Socrates! You had Socrates?
Oh, I'm getting dizzy from Socrates.
Megan, okay, to the listeners, this has never come up before. We have never, ever, it has never been revealed that both of us had Socrates. Megan, I've never met anyone who's even heard of Socrates. I also had Socrates.
You know about Socrates?
I know about Socrates.
And it was
Megan.
like this little robot guy he had these little eyebrows.
Yeah, he
that
kind of
would
looked like E.T., but if E.T. was a robot.
I'm going to try to look up the music because I remember the music went crazy on that video game. And it was like math. And I think there was like reading and spelling. I forget which games I actually played on Socrates.
It was like fun enough that like I played it.
I mean, I played it. I was like, well, if I
Sure.
don't have anything else to do, I guess I'll learn how to spell. Hang on, let me see if I can.
Socrates is buried so deep inside me. Like it changed me for sure.
God, that's crazy that we've never talked about Socrates.
I can't believe it. We did a whole segment on Oregon Trail. Socrates never came to mind. Like,
of course it didn't. It was so weird.
It was so weird.
But
like,
you know,
what if we look it up and it was like, unfortunately, Socrates was a huge flop. It only sold 2 consoles.
You're welcome, Socrates. My brother and I, to this day, that's like so deep in the Matthew and Megan Hatcher Maze lore, Socrates. But anyways, so my friends had like Nintendo systems or whatever. So I got really into Super Mario 3. I loved it. Jumping all around, getting bigger, getting smaller, turning into a little raccoon. We loved that. The little tail, got the little tail going. That was so cute. And then my brother had a PlayStation when we were older, but I realized the number of buttons is so complicated. And so that's what I realized is that it's not even so much about like what the game is about as that it's like, there's too many buttons. And if there's more than like 2, I don't know what to do with myself. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I actually do play a fair number of games on my phone. I told you about that pizza game where you just like make pizza and solve mysteries. That's a good game.
Yep.
But that's just me touching it with one finger.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what I want to do. I'm going to take this information that you've given me about what you like and what you don't like about video games, and I'm going to come back next week with some prescriptions for you.
Okay. I also love a good puzzle. I really liked Monument Valley. That was fun, where you had to like use your brain to figure out how to get in and out of things. That was nice.
Do you care about the story? Do you care about I
mean,
not really. That's fine.
It depends.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do play this game called, God, this is embarrassing. Games are so stupid. I play this game called Murder in the Alps, which is it's like a hidden object game, but you're a journalist, a Swiss journalist who's trying to solve murders in the Alps in Zurich. And the actual solving of the murder is like kind of fun. I love to find things, you know, like, oh, I found the crowbar. Boop.
That sounds fun.
Yeah,
that's
fun. The pizza game was kind of a gas because it combined pizza with mysteries. So that was nice.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Okay. So this is going to be a 2-parter because we're going to come back next week.
Yeah.
And also, you know what? If you have heard Megan's criteria and you want to send in suggestions to the email, please do. Because I certainly do not have an encyclopedic knowledge of video games. And in terms of platforms, I'm going to not restrict myself. I'm going to, because even if you don't want to invest in anything, you can come visit me here and we can play.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like we can make it happen.
Okay.
But I'll try to foreground iOS games.
Okay.
Because that's easiest.
Sounds good. And if you have ever heard of Socrates, give us a call. 703-829-0003. And I hope you like the Socrates music because it goes crazy.
Want to teach your kids financial literacy, but not sure where to start? Greenlight can help. With Greenlight, parents can keep an eye on kids' spending and saving, while kids and teens use a card of their own to build money confidence. As a parent, you can send instant money transfers, set up chores, automate allowance, and more. It's a convenient way to run your household, customized to your family's needs, and the easy way to raise financially smart kids. Get started with Greenlight today and get your first month free at greenlight.com/Wondery.
What makes a life a good one? Is it the adventure you have? Or the friends you find along the way? Maybe it's pursuing your passion while striving to protect, defend, and save what you believe in every single day. So, what makes a life a good one? In the Coast Guard, we think it's all of the above and more, but you'll have to find out for yourself. Visit gocoastguard.com to learn more.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya. Great podcast.
Great podcast, Megan.
Well done.
Glad podcast, top podcast, Dungeons and Podcast, and
Podcast, son of Grodcast.
Podcast, son of Grodcast. We done it again. Well.
I
had so much fun today. I love when the podcast is just gabbing.
I know, me too. And I truly cannot believe we never spoke about Socrates until this exact moment. That's crazy.
The Socrates reveal, it's like, I need time to process because
I know.
I have so much more to say, but I can't believe this.
I can't wait to text my brother and tell him about Socrates. He's going to be so excited.
I know about Socrates.
I played Socrates,
I played a lot of Socrates.
Oh yeah.
Socrates.
If you want your child to grow up to be a New York Times bestselling author, you better get him
and
a copy
a lawyer.
of Socrates. and an attorney. You go ahead and get them a copy of Socrates.
Yeah.
Also, we're not being paid by the Socrates Corporation for gassing it up.
No, but I'm wondering, who is the Socrates Corporation?
I don't want to know.
Like, what have they morphed into? They make missiles now.
Yeah, yes, Raytheon. Damn it! Always comes back to Raytheon.
Yep.
Well, join us next week, where who knows what could be happening in the world of gorillas, politics, or Socrates.
Yep. Next week, we'll do a deep dive into the breaking story of Balloon Boy, a boy who's stuck in a balloon, or is he?
Or is he? He's flying over Arizona, or excuse me, he's flying over Colorado, or maybe he's not.
Or he's under a bed.
Tune in next week to find out.
Bye, Megan. I love you.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Text Me Back. If you like the show, please tell your best friend about us. Be sure to rate and review us. It helps people find the show. And most importantly, please support our Patreon so we can keep making this. It's patreon.com/textmebackpod. Text Me Back is a production of Meagan and Lindy, proud members of the BFF Network. Our senior producer is Megan Hatcher-Mays. Our other senior producer is me. Our show is supported by Co-Pilot Collective and produced by Allie Slice. Our digital strategist is Chance Nichols.
Diana Bowen is our video and creative wizard. Our production team includes Lindy West, Megan Hatcher-Mays, our loves, our anxieties, and our fears.
Our music is by Chief Ahamefule J. Oluo.
Special thanks to our perfect angels, Jeannie Yandel, Brandy Fullwood, and Isolde Raftery.
I'm Lindy West.
And I'm Megan Hatcher-Mays. See you next week. Mwah!